Hello, I'm Katie Petrowski, award-winning career counselor and host of Career Wow. And congratulations, you've got a job interview coming up. And I know you want to present yourself at your absolute best. And to do that, you're walking through job interview preparation in this Career Wow module. We're here today at the Larimer County Government Building. For this module, you will need the job interview preparation worksheets available on your company's Career Wow portal. So print those off and let's go have some fun. The Larimer County Government Organization provides a wide variety of services for its citizens. Their focus is on building partnerships, being customer-driven, empowering people to take responsibility, being a fulfilling and enjoyable place to work, and being good stewards of our public resources. Please meet Adam. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Katie.
So happy to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Tell everyone what you do here at Larimer County.
I'm the Business Development Manager for the Larimer County Workforce Center, and my primary role is to support businesses in hiring and any other part of the employment life cycle.
Excellent. And why were you interested in participating in this segment, job interview preparation?
Yeah, a lot of the businesses that we work with want to find a great fit for their organization when they're hiring someone. And a big part of that is interviewing. So we want to make sure that we're giving them the best guidance, and I'm hoping you can give me some great tips on ways that I can assist folks.
I would love to do that. So here's our plan for today. First, I'm going to have you walk through several steps for interview preparation because preparation makes for better success.
Great.
After we walk through some of those steps, I'm going to give you some time to do some practice on your own. And then to wrap it all up, we'll do a practice interview. How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
So it's very important as a foundation for your interview preparation that you complete the Success Database module in the Career Wow series. It will walk you through a process for identifying a number of very compelling achievements that will give you excellent content to share in an interview. So be sure to take that step. Ready to dive in?
Yes.
So let's start with a question that comes up very often and often early in the interview, and that's tell me about you. And with this question, you want to think about sharing pieces of you that tie to your past, your present, and your future, particularly as they relate to the position that you're interviewing for. You might include some elements around your work history, your education, maybe a hobby or two to give it a personal touch, and a significant accomplishment that would be good for them to know about. So because this question does come up often at the beginning of interviews when you might be really nervous, it's important that once you have your content decided, you actually practice it out loud a number of times so that you're almost on autopilot when the question is asked. Adam, tell me about yourself.
Well, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself, starting with past and where I've come from. And I have an education degree, and I was a history teacher for a time. Now I'm a career counselor here at the Larimer County Workforce Center and focusing in business development. And the two don't necessarily match up, but I did find throughout my time in graduate school that I really enjoyed.
Something else that's super handy when you've gone through the process of creating your Success Database examples is that you can list them all on a single sheet, an accomplishments page, and it's sort of like a security blanket. You can carry a few copies with you into the interview, and then when the time is right, you can say, I've put together a list of achievements relevant to your position, and I'd like for you to keep a copy. Plus, if you're asked a question and you're drawing a blank, you can always refer to that achievements listing and say, oh, here's an example that would be good to share. Works really well. Moving on, what we're going to talk about next, Adam, is strengths. Now, there is a very helpful module in the Career Wow series to help you identify your strengths and talents. Have you done that yet?
I have.
Tell me what you came up with as some of your key strength areas. Adam, tell me about a few of your strengths, please.
My strengths as they pertain to this position are communication. I'm a strong communicator. I'm great at listening and moving to action, and flexibility. So to give you a specific example of moving to action, we were working with a business who was very interested in some of this.
Adam, I'd love to hear an example that demonstrates your strengths in communication, please.
Sure. Well, let me tell you a real recent example. So working with them to ease their concerns, let them know the benefits, let them know the needs of it, sometimes meeting with them in person and being real flexible on how that went. And the result was that we were able to get it done really quickly. The businesses were very excited about the training. They were very hopeful about how it was going to change and improve their business practices. And all of our partners, including the community college, were very pleased, and we're going to continue working together into the future.
Another popular question that often comes up in interviews is, tell me about one of your weaknesses. So with your answer to this question, you want to think of something that isn't what I think of as a deal killer, something that if the interviewer heard you say it, they'd think, I'll never hire Adam because of this particular weakness. Instead, you want to choose something that isn't core to the job, and also that you can talk about ways that you've worked on developing it. Adam, tell me about a weakness.
Yeah, I've never been a strong speller. I was the kid that always had to retake the spelling tests. And throughout my education and my professional career, I've gotten much better because I have a lot of resumes to review here and there, or I've had publications to put out to the public. And the result of it has been that I have developed a really strong sentence structure skill set, so I'm good at editing for content, I'm good at editing for...
So another answer that can work very well in many situations where you're asked about your weakness is to say, one of my weaknesses is that I'm not up to speed on how your organization works yet, but in the past I've been able to learn the ropes very quickly, and I look forward to doing that in this job as well.
Okay.
This is an ideal time to introduce the Career Wow Mystery Bag.
Okay.
If you'll pull out the item that's in there, please.
Oh, I know this. I had one when I was a kid.
Yeah, my kids played with it too. So tell me, how can you see this toy lining up with how you want to present yourself in the interview?
So I need to match up my skills and experience with the position.
Exactly. So in an interview, you can look at the holes in the toy as being their requirements, and your job in the interview is to figure out ways to tell stories and share examples that match their requirements to put those stories into the holes. This makes the beautiful point also that when you're evaluating opportunities, ideally you want to find a job that has requirements that very nicely match up to your strengths. So then you can be putting your strengths into the position. I'll take just a minute now to talk about an important interviewing strategy that many employers are using today to evaluate candidates, and that's behavioral interviewing. And in behavioral interviews, employers are looking to predict your future performance based on your past behavior. So they may ask questions, for example, like, please give me an example of a time when you... And unless you've thought through some things in advance, it's very likely that you might think of some horrible train wreck story. That's why it's so important for you to go through the process of completing the Success Database module so that you have some of those examples ready to share. Adam, give me an example of a time when you had a conflict with a coworker and what happened.
Well, I'm going to step back a few years to when I was doing my student teaching in graduate school. And I was with a teacher, and we were teaching world and U.S. history. We didn't have the same teaching styles. So we made a point of taking time, at least once a week, to sit down and talk through things and figure out, okay, this is the way I would do it, this is the way you would do it. How are we going to come up with this for the next week? Here's a lesson plan. And it gave me a lot of learning opportunity. And I think it gave her an opportunity to try out some new things that maybe she hadn't thought about before. I never know what to say when they ask me if I have questions.
Yes, you'll want to prepare for that. Here are a few questions that I find work really well.
I'd like to know, what are some of the skills and what are some of the abilities you're looking for in a candidate for this position? Can you tell me a little bit about the training and the training plan for this position? Could you tell me some of the key characteristics that you look for in a candidate for this position? What do you hope the chosen candidate will be able to accomplish for you in the first few months, maybe the first year?
After the interview, you'll want to wrap up like a champ. Here are some suggestions. Finish up with a strong statement about why you want the job. Restate relevant strengths and a powerful example demonstrating why you would succeed.
Well, I really think that I'm the best candidate for this position. My background fits. I have a lot of the skills that you're looking for, namely communication, being flexible, being able to understand the needs of businesses and take action to meet those needs. And I've given you some very strong examples. Some of them that I would add to it are around organizing job fairs specific to populations.
Wrap up with an enthusiastic statement such as, "I'm very interested in this position and hope you'll consider me as a strong candidate."
I feel like I'm a strong candidate for this position for those reasons, and I look forward to you considering me as a candidate.
Find out what happens going forward. Would you please tell me what happens next in this process?
Would you please tell me what the next step in the hiring process is?
And then follow up appropriately. If they've told you that you're going to hear from them early next week, and it gets to be the end of the next week, you can call and say, "I'm still very interested in the position and I'm contacting you to check on the status." Always send a thank you note. It could be an email or a hard copy note, but it's very important that you thank them for your time and restate why you're excited about the opportunity. Do you ever get nervous in interviews, Adam?
I do.
So here's a technique that can really help with the nervousness. Sometimes making eye contact can feel a little too personal. So what I do is focus right in the center of someone's eyes. And then I'm not really looking in their eyes. Can you tell that I'm looking at the center of your forehead?
No.
Excellent, because that's what I'm doing, but I feel more confident. Something else you can do when you're nervous in an interview is say to yourself quietly, not out loud, "I like myself, I like myself, I like myself." It can save you from going down a black hole of losing confidence to raising you back up so that you feel good about how you're presenting yourself. Another helpful tip is to practice, practice, practice some of your responses, especially your success stories, your tell me about yourself, your strengths and weaknesses answers. So I'd like for you to think through, how can you work some practice into your preparation before the interview?
You know, I have some public speaking experience, and I like to take some time to write some notes out ahead of time. But I've also learned that writing it down on paper and thinking about it in my mind is very different, because things will come out not the way I expect them. So I plan to sit down with some folks I work with, sit down with some friends, and I'll probably ask my wife at home to give me some mock interview tips and walk me through some questions.
Another suggestion for practice is think of an activity where your hands might be busy, say in the kitchen or working in the yard, but that you can be engaging your mind through practicing your answers. So say them out loud as you're emptying the dishwasher. When you're asked a question that might stump you in an interview, it's perfectly fine to say, "That's a good question, let me think about it for a minute," and then take a few seconds. Another technique is to say, "I'd like to come back to that question in a little while," but then make a note so that you do come back and it doesn't seem like you're trying to avoid it altogether. Other important prep steps are to print off several hard copies of your resume that you can take with you to the interview in a nice looking portfolio. And a few days before the interview, you'll want to try out your suit and make sure that it fits you well and that it's clean. Let's take a look at what you might wear in the interview. Adam is sharply dressed in a well-fitting coat and slacks. He's chosen a tasteful tie in a complementary color. He's wearing professional shoes, and his facial hair is neatly trimmed. Julie is wearing a tasteful and stylish interview suit that is one level above the position for which she'll be interviewing. Her jewelry is modest, and she's chosen not to wear any fragrance so that she has a neutral scent. Adam, how has this experience been for you?
It's been great. It's given me an opportunity to see the preparation that goes into an interview, specifically coming up with the skills that match the position I'm applying for, developing some stories that illustrate those skills.
In going through the practice?
Yes.
Well, your mock interview was wonderful, and this sounds like a career wow win to me. So to recap the process Adam and I went through to help him get prepared for his job interview. He used the worksheets available on his company's Career Wow portal, and together we walked step by step through the different activities. He then had time where he did some practice before a mock interview, where he performed exceptionally well. And I look forward to having you perform exceptionally well in your next job interview, and I look forward to seeing you in our next Career Wow adventure.
Over the years, I've had the pleasure of interviewing many applicants for positions within the Workforce Center. What I can share is that when an applicant has done really great work regarding developing and displaying their stories, their examples in interviews, it makes it very easy for us to determine whether or not they have the skills and abilities to be a good fit for our organization. We recently interviewed a candidate who had extraordinarily well-developed stories, and listening to her stories conveyed to me that not only could she do the job, she actually was an excellent match for our team and our culture, and we ended up hiring her at the Workforce Center.
While taking the interviewing workshop, we were instructed to go home and to answer questions that interviewers may ask us in order for us to develop stories that would respond to the types of questions that were being presented to us. I did that. I came up with about 24 stories, but what that process also did for me was it helped me to remember things so that if a question came up that maybe I hadn't anticipated, I had other stories that I could draw on to provide the information and answer the questions that the interviewers were asking. It also helped me to relax and not think so much about, oh, what kind of questions am I going to have? It helped me to relax knowing that I would be able to answer the questions, and it helped me to come across much more genuine and presentable to the interviewers, and I got the job.